Hello, friends. In today's episode, I am going to talk about work-life balance. We all want to live very rich and meaningful lives, both at work as well as at home. And we don't want to miss out on the best of both the worlds. That's human nature. And therefore, it is natural for us to constantly talk and strive for the best work-life balance that we can have. When it comes to work-life balance, very often we wonder on how do we measure it. And I will give you three very simple pointers on how you can measure the degree of your work-life balance and whether you are being successful at it or not. One of the first, because that is what the maximum number of people spend time doing, is checking email and work-related messages after work at home. This is the number one thing that tells you that you're not having a great work-life balance. Are you on call 24/7? Will your manager call you at, say, 9 o'clock in the night or at 6 o'clock in the morning, which are really not your work hours at all? And do you ever manage to take guilt-free and work-free vacations? If you know the answers to this, then knowing whether you have a good work-life balance or not is really a no-brainer. I don't think you need to be a rocket scientist to then be able to judge based on the answer to these three questions, whether you have a good amount of work-life balance or not. Fortunately, employers and even small businesses have started realizing this. And therefore, they offer a lot of facilities to help you achieve the maximum work-life balance possible. Some of these are flex time. I don't need to describe any of these because I'm sure you know about them, even if they are not offered with the organization that you are working with. So the first one is flex time. The second facility that most employers offer is remote or work from home. They give you a lot of leave for various reasons: sick leave, paid leave, vacation leave, unpaid leave, casual leave. It can be defined in many ways, but they give you leave to be able to get a better work-life balance. There are companies I know that have shorter work weeks. You maybe work just 3 or 4 days a week. And there are companies that will permit you and afford you the luxury of taking a sabbatical without compromising or losing your job. Now, with all these facilities, one would think, oh, work-life balance is a given. But unfortunately, this is not the case. In spite of all these facilities that employers offer, work-life balance is not always great for people who work there. Let's take flex time, for example. Flex time may not be available to you at the time you really want it. Say at 3 o'clock in the afternoon when you want to go and fetch your child from school, or at 10 o'clock in the morning when you need to go to a doctor. So flex time may not always work to help you achieve that work-life balance. Or take remote work or work from home option. Very often I have seen, especially during the pandemic period, that this work from home has blurred all the time constraints that are there, or all the times that are defined as work hours and non-work hours. And therefore, you tend to be on a 24/7 call most of the time. And as I said, this has become worse after the pandemic. When it comes to leave, whether it is paid or unpaid, generally I have noticed that people don't always take vacations. There could be multiple reasons for it. It might be the stress related to work. It might be the FOMO of missing out at work and therefore somebody else jumping into what you were doing, whatever be the reason. But some of the main reasons actually for people not taking a vacation is that it is pretty expensive to do so. And more so if you have children who are studying in school. Because then you have to take your vacations to be in sync with the times when the children have holidays. And during these times, generally flights and hotels are more expensive. All the places are overcrowded. And it takes a lot of planning way ahead of time, which may not always be possible. So taking vacations also becomes challenging. And very often people don't have the luxury of leaving work behind. And they are constantly wondering about how things are going on at work when they are on a vacation. And shorter weeks, great idea that you can spend 2 days with the family entirely. But then what happens is that those 3 or 4 days that you're really working, you tend to be working for long hours, which leave you fatigued, which leave you with no time for your family or your children. You come home and you are ready to slump and just go to bed. So these facilities don't always translate into better work-life balance. Now, to help employees and your team members achieve work-life balance, we as managers and leaders can do a lot. And I think the first thing to do is to train your supervisors, the people to whom your team members directly report, to be more supportive of their teams, both emotionally as well as practically. Not to demand that their team members be available 24/7, no matter what. This is not a great way to help people achieve work-life balance. As an organization, and we as leaders should create a culture which is supportive to the mental and physical health of our team members. We should have a culture of empathy and understanding. And as managers, we should learn to reward actual outcomes and not the number of hours spent at work or the appearance of business. These things can go a long way to having nice mental health for your employees. As an individual, I definitely recommend the 8+8+8 rule. 8 hours of efficient and productive work where you focus just on work. 8 hours of sleep a day. And the other 8 hours divided based on your convenience and your choice on the 3 Fs, the 2 Hs, and that 1 S. The 3 Fs being family, friends, and faith, basically nurturing your soul. The 2 Hs being health and some hobby that you pursue. And that S is service and smiles. You will definitely smile if you're doing service for society. So follow this 8 plus 8 plus 8 rule, and it'll help you a lot. There are some other tips which are coming from my personal life for better work-life balance. Pick a day or two, if you can, where you will definitely be with the family for dinner. And preferably pick weekdays for this, because on weekends, your children, once they are grown up, and you yourself would want to spend time with friends, doing things that you like, which others may only be able to do on weekends with you. So pick a day or two, weekdays, for time out. I do understand that this can be challenging times. And it used to be a big challenge for me when I was working, because dinner time would more often than not be the time I connect with my customers. My major market was the US. So when I am ready to eat dinner, they are ready to start working. And that used to lead to a lot of challenges. There have been times I've been for dinner outside in restaurants where my family has finished dinner, but I'm still on the phone outside the restaurant. Another way to be a little more relaxed and fresh at work, when you are at work, at least 2 or 3 times a week, get up from your desk and go out for dinner or lunch, rather. It could be as simple as taking your home packed lunch, but going and sitting in a park with a couple of friends and having your lunch there. Or maybe once a week or twice a week, depending on your convenience and your choice. Go out to a neighboring restaurant for lunch. And be sure, make it a point, that at these lunches, you are not talking shop. At all times, during the day, maybe 2 or 3 times, take 5-minute breaks, take time off, allot it, and spend the time. I think I mentioned this in my last episode. Walk around, don't gossip. That's not what we want to do. So take time off, schedule time for it, and enjoy it and adhere to it. If it's 3 minutes, it's 3 minutes. Then you don't go start gossiping for 10 minutes. So discipline you need to build. Exercise and eat healthy. Because if you are healthy and if you exercise, you're going to find time for yourself. And you're going to be fit enough to do things with family and friends. Pursue a hobby. If you don't have one, find one. But that's the best way to distract yourself constructively and get away from that work mind frame. Plan the next day, preferably before leaving work. Don't do it at home. At home, yes, plan your next day with reference to what you need to do personally. But as far as work is concerned, plan the next day before you sign off for work on that day. When it's time to get off, go. Your work is never going to end. It will never be finished. So go. When it's time, go. Come back and start working on it the next morning. Very important point is to check the company's policies on work ethics and rules. Plan your boundaries based on that. Discuss the same with your manager. Be in sync with him so that he knows what to expect and he knows when he can and cannot disturb you. He can disturb you in an emergency at any time, but by and large, it's not acceptable that he demands you on call 24/7. One point I'd like to make here, which I think is very, very important and which you should all remember, is that you have to learn to put a value, and a premium, on time, over money, and on happiness over promotions. A key factor to having a good work-life balance. Now, we generally talk of work-life balance and how we can maximize it. But I've read about it. I had started experiencing it, and it worked very well, is to aim for what we would call work-life integration and not just balance. Because when we talk of balance, by default, we are putting two things in two different baskets, so to say, work and life. We are talking of them separately. But when we attempt to integrate them, when we start off thinking as integrating them, we accept and work towards a positive overlap of our careers and personal lives. When we talk of balance, we tend to define work and personal lives as two opposite lives, so to say, in two different baskets of the balance. And we focus on one or the other depending on the time of the day. And by doing this, by and large, we end up doing injustice to both. Not a great sign. But by looking at ways to integrate the two, we do not define boundaries. Say how normal thinking is that 9 to 5 is work. No, you don't define boundaries that way, but consider the time you have, say the 24 hours in a day, and you continuously focus on both work and personal lives, and judging, rightly so, and taking a call on what is important at what time of the day. So integration is a big help. Our lives are complex, and we all know that. And unfortunately, most activities would happen between that 9 to 5 period. So you have to take your child to a doctor. It's going to be somewhere between 9 and 5. You have to go and pick up your child or drop them at school. It's going to be somewhere between 9 and 5, which is typically allotted to work. So what do you do? So again, instead of balancing the two, if we try to integrate the two, we can allow the ebb and flow of activities relating to work and relating to personal lives, so that you can participate and devote quality time to both those lives that we are looking at. And we can strengthen both. Okay. So say you would like to drop your child to school in the morning, or you have a carpool which you need to be a part of. And at the same time, you don't want to miss dinner with your family in the evening. Now, if you want to go to the carpool, that means you're not going to reach office at, say, 9 o'clock. And if you reach at 9, after 9, and you don't finish the work by, say, 6 o'clock, you're going to miss dinner with the family. So what does one do in such a situation? Wake up early. And if your organization and work rules permit, say from the time you wake up for maybe a couple of hours, you do work on your office work. Then you go drop your children, go to office. You finished a couple of hours of work. So you can still leave by 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock and get home in time for dinner with the family. And this would help you even more, because in the morning, you're not going to be distracted or disturbed by either colleagues or phone calls or anybody, so that your work becomes more efficient. And you'll probably achieve a lot more in those couple of hours in the morning than you would do in a couple of hours at work. So to end, I would say that you need to change the way you look at this critical and often life-crushing challenge. I've seen so many marriages, so many children and parents having problems because they can't devote time to each other. You need to change your mindset and achieve true success and happiness, both at work and in personal life, by integrating them rather than just trying to balance them. By doing this, you take control of your life. You judge and determine what is important at what time of the day and how you will allocate your time to be more happy and successful in life. Think about this. Let me have your comments and have a great evening. Bye bye.